Can you hear me now? Hey, boys and girls. Welcome back to Stories with Dave. Thanks for joining me, especially if if you were good enough to slog through Hokey Pokey with me. I really appreciate that. That was cool. Anyway, I've been kind of agonizing about what to read next because, so much to read, so little wine. And I don't know, I owe you guys something cool. So I wanted to, this is something that I've been working on. This is what I'm working on right now. I'm really not working on anything right now. I'm really working in the garden right now. But when I do pull this thing out and open my current folder and look at what I've been working on, I've been poking around at this. This is a story about, from when I was in my 20s in Tempe, Arizona. And I was working as a roast master at a little roast house. And roast master and general manager um, of a little roast cafe. Back before it was cool. And it's a story about this artist. You look him up. His name is Cotty. He was a protege of Josephine Baker. When he was a little kid, goes the story, and an orphan. Someone took him to see her perform live, and he sketched some costume design ideas for her. And someone brought them to her dressing room. She demanded to see him, and adopted him on the spot. He was one of, I think, a few kids that she adopted, kind of United Colors of Benetton entourage, much like Madonna's or Angelina Jolie, but somehow I think more legit, more on the up and up. But anyway, Cotty was a very interesting cat, and he's the only person who's ever hired me to write a ghost write their autobiography, and that's what the story is about. Getting involved with him on that project and how it went sour. But without further ado, for now, it's the working title is The Artist, which is really gay. It's ironic. So's Cotty. Here we go. Let me take my gum out. How's that? For starters. The artist floated around in a little bubble. He was substantiated only by his wardrobe, his entourage, and a list of names he dropped one at a time with opulent precision. Standing inside that bubble painted you into his dream and made you a character beside those other names. But as soon as you stepped out of that bubble, you ceased to exist altogether. He had two assistants who resided in that bubble with him full time. Others passed through it and were drawn into his orbit by chance or sucked in by gravity. Down at the cafe, we flocked around it like baby birds. I have to know where you got that jacket, Nan announced. She never said anything. She just made announcements. She had crooked bangs and a rat face. Her parents taught art and theater at Cal Davis. Like them, Nan was destined for a future in high art, which was precisely why she owned a cafe. I was destined to be a great American author, which is precisely why I managed it for her. The jacket was a classic bomber jacket. It featured a portrait of Madonna painted in acrylic on the black back panel. Flowering vines spiraled down the sleeves, blooming all around the cuffs. The artist removed it so Nan could try it on for size. Everyone gathered around. We all agreed it fit perfectly. She swooned. What would you want for it? The artist made eye contact with his two associates, who shrugged at one another and then back at him. One of them was in his mid-30s. He wore casual business attire and carried a sleek leather briefcase that served as a container for even thinner, sleeker folios and notepads. The other was a 20-something track star with a Nike endorsement, who ran on the Olympic team with Carl Lewis. Collectively, they were his entourage. It was my first time seeing one, so I had no idea what it was or what to call it. I would have called it his team. They trailed him like helium balloons tied to his belt loop by invisible strings. More importantly, he answered, what would you give for it? He lived behind dark glasses. I didn't know him for long, but I never saw his eyes during that time, not even once. At that moment, I really wanted to see what they were doing. I watched the conversation peripherally while I pulled the espresso for their mochas. Nan pondered the question, devouring the jacket with her eyes. A mocha every day, she said finally. I had their drinks up already, 3 double mochas piled with whipped cream. It's a deal. Those 2 are included, right? He asked, glancing back at his entourage, handing her the jacket. I watched her fingers close around the collar of the jacket as she said, Of course, the whole crew. You see, the setting for this story is South Tempe, close to Baseline Drive. It's impossible to imagine a place more bereft of culture than Tempe in the mid-90s. The coffee scene was all it had going for it, that and cheap cocaine. The cafe in question lay at the end of a strip mall managed by an old curmudgeon who complained incessantly about the grease stains that members of the meat puppets left on his furniture when they dropped by the house to mount his daughter. That was our exact location on the cultural map, and we knew it. And probably as close to real rock and roll as any of us would ever get. When the artist descended onto our dead little world, we felt suddenly legitimate in ways you couldn't buy or even see coming. We were illuminated, touched by Los Angeles directly, inappropriately even, fingered by it on the sly under the family table. Other cafes had amateur art hanging on the walls. We had a legend sitting on our porch, and he had a bubble. Had Nan answered honestly, she might have said, anything. Ron, Nan's magnanimous man, was the inevitable result of selective genetics, trust fund affluence, and public education. His facial features were exaggerated in all the wrong places. He had grotesquely large and busy Adam's apple, horse teeth, and a prominent hair lip poorly disguised under a vintage 70s style handlebar mustache. He looked cast for a pornographic spoof of the Revenge of the Nerds. That's as much as I've got. That last little paragraph was a little choppy. It's more like, appended notes than part of the story. But anyway, this is what I've been working on recently. I'm gonna get that thing. I think I need to just put that thing to bed. But it's nuanced, man. It's like, okay, this artist drops in and makes everybody feel legit for a minute. Big deal. Um, Hungary's collapsing. Let's all hear a story. Thanks for joining me. See you next time.